That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys, I know that the majority of y'all understand this, but I want to be clear for everyone who has not seen us do one of these trade videos before. All of these questions were received through Instagram. That's how we get all of our submission questions. And yeah, if you're not following me already, I'm doing questions like this every single week, as well as lineup grades and start-sit questions, but that will all be done through Instagram. I will try to remember to put the Instagram name on the screen. Y'all know I have a very bad time doing that. If it's not on the screen, I'll definitely leave a comment below. And yeah, and the second thing is, guys, I am very sorry if I was not able to get to your trade question. We had about 100 submissions, I want to say, so not going to be able to get to everyone, but I picked the 5 ones that I thought would be interesting to talk about. And yeah, we're going to break down these 5, and yeah, thank you all for going out there and dropping likes on the videos and comments on the videos as well. It is drastically helping improve this channel. And on top of that, we are going to be live streaming tonight at 8:30 p.m. Central if I was not able to get to your trade question specifically, and as well as Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. Central and Sunday morning. So just make sure you come through the live streams, ask me there, and I will be able to give you that answer. But let's get into the video and let's talk about our first trade question, which is coming off a video where I went out there and told y'all to go try to trade for Tyler Lockett. And this trade is Mike Evans for Tyler Lockett and Deebo Samuel. So now when we are looking at this trade, I think the most important thing that we need to look at is what we can expect from Mike Evans going forward, because he is the centerpiece in this deal. And we understand with Mike Evans, he has been a low-end wide receiver 1 so far in 2020 with the games that he has been healthy. But the problem with projecting this to go forward is we are actually going to see Chris Godwin come back to this offense. And y'all know I am not necessarily the biggest fan of Chris Godwin, but we have to be objective and we have to look at the fact that we are going to end up seeing Chris Godwin get anywhere from 20 to 25% of this team's targets. And when Tom Brady is going out there and getting these other weapons in the offense involved, I mean, Brady spreading the ball out like that is going to increase the efficiency of the targets that Mike Evans sees, because the defense is not going to be solely focused on Mike Evans. But with the targets going down in general, I don't necessarily think the bump in efficiency is going to be able to overcome that. So I expect the fantasy football production from Mike Evans to drop down from maybe a low-end wide receiver 1 with where he is currently to maybe a high-end mid wide receiver 2 with Chris Godwin coming back into this offense. Now, let's look on the other side of the deal and let's try to evaluate Tyler Lockett and Deebo Samuel. And let's look at Deebo Samuel first, because y'all know this was a guy that I was highly advocating you going out there and acquiring last week. And now we look at his week 5 performance, and it was just absolutely horrendous against the Miami Dolphins. The San Francisco 49ers were not able to get the ball moving whatsoever. And I'll say a couple things about this. One, yes, I know it's concerning. You would never want to see an offense look that bad if you're going to be investing in a significant piece in that offense. And secondly, we have to acknowledge the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo was not 100% for that game. He was saying that he was having a very hard time planting off that ankle to throw the ball. So I think we can end up expecting the San Francisco 49ers to have a small bounce back with Deebo Samuel's value. Now let's look at Tyler Lockett. And with Tyler Lockett, he is still a low-end wide receiver 1 at the current moment. And I think the difference between Mike Evans and Tyler Lockett, where they are similarly just ranked in terms of the production that they've seen so far in 2020. I think the difference between projecting their volume going forward is with Tyler Lockett, there is only one other weapon in that offense that they're going to in DK Metcalf. And as well as that, DK Metcalf has been active every single game this season, and we have still seen Tyler Lockett go out there and get that production. I think this is something that we can expect going forward, looking at him being Russell Wilson's #1 target. I think I would prefer having DK Metcalf in fantasy, but we cannot ignore the fact that Tyler Lockett is just a focal point of one of the best offenses in football. So in general, I think with this trade, I am going to be all for it. I would love to go out there and trade away Mike Evans to get Tyler Lockett and Deebo Samuel. I think moving from Mike Evans to Tyler Lockett, if anything, is just a push. And I know with Deebo Samuel, it was extremely concerning in week 5, but I think this is a wide receiver that it doesn't even really matter if he does not hit, because in this deal, you have him just purely as a throw-in. So love the trade. Now, our next trade question is going to be one of our just top sell high candidates, getting packaged with another sell high candidate in Todd Gurley and Darius Slayton. Now, both of these sell high candidates are getting moved for a top 5 wide receiver, an elite guy that you can go out there and you can plug in your lineup confidently each and every week in Tyreek Hill. So now let's kind of break down Todd Gurley and why I think that he's a nice piece to move off of at the moment. So with Todd Gurley, I understand extremely productive so far in 2020, but to come with this production that he's had, he's kind of, if you want to use a poker term, he's been running really hot. I mean, he's been running like the sun. I mean, just getting extremely lucky with this touchdown variance, something that we cannot necessarily expect to continue going forward. And as well, if you take out week 5, Todd Gurley actually has had more touchdowns this season than receptions, and we know receiving game usage is something that's going to be predictable for future weeks in fantasy football success. So I think a lot of this production from Todd Gurley is just kind of inflated with the touchdowns. We're not necessarily expecting this defense to get any better and going to be allowing Todd Gurley to just get 25 carries a game with the fact that they're going to be in shootouts. And on top of this, Todd Gurley with his arthritic knee is pretty much just a ticking time bomb. Another reason we are looking to sell high. And now with Darius Slayton, y'all know, I mean, we went out there and told y'all to start him in week 5. He had a fantastic matchup against the Dallas Cowboys, but I think the production that he saw was mainly a factor of the matchup, and I don't necessarily want to say that it's going to be something we can consistently expect going forward, understanding that Darius Slayton is one of these wide receivers that really just operates deep down the field, and if you are that kind of wide receiver on a non-productive offense, I mean, it's going to be very hard for you to be a consistent contributor. So for both of those reasons, I love going out there and making this trade for Tyreek Hill. Don't even really need to dive into Tyreek Hill because everyone knows what he is, and I think that's a complete smash. Now, let's talk about another Tyreek Hill trade, and this trade is actually coming from a team packaging Tyreek Hill with DJ Moore to go out there and get Davante Adams. Now, I'm assuming this trade came about with me going out there and telling y'all to sell high on DJ Moore, but I just want to include this trade saying that I don't necessarily think this is the price that you should go out there and move DJ Moore at, because he is still one of those wide receivers that, based on the production he had his 2 first years in the NFL, if his role does change in this offense, I think we could see consistent high-end wide receiver 2 production that is in his range of outcomes. That is entirely possible, and when we are going out there and trying to sell him, we are just trying to sell him at that price now, so we don't have to worry about any of the downside risk. And when you are selling him just in a trade that makes no sense, in my opinion, because if we are going to go out there and expect Davante Adams to be the wide receiver 1 in fantasy, which I personally do, I think Davante Adams in the target share that he is going to have in Green Bay is just going to be unmatched by any other wide receiver in the NFL. I mean, even in, what are we expecting in terms of the difference in production week to week from Davante Adams and Tyreek Hill? I mean, are we expecting a 2 to 3 point per game difference? I mean, it's just not really going to be a massive, massive key in this trade. So going out there and giving up an upside high-end wide receiver 2 is not necessarily the move I am looking to make if I'm trying to move from Tyreek Hill to Davante Adams, especially when we are going into the bye weeks. In depth is going to be crucial. And while I think that you should go out there and sell DJ Moore, I think you just need to be asking for more. Now, let's talk about 2 running backs that I thought were drastically overvalued coming into 2020 in Kenyon Drake and David Montgomery. Now, let's start with David Montgomery because I just want to say this is the much more intriguing play because I've kind of changed my mind on David Montgomery. Yes, we still think that David Montgomery is a far below average running back in terms of just NFL talent, but we know when we are evaluating these running backs in terms of fantasy football, talent matters, but it is definitely not everything because you are looking at David Montgomery stepping into a role that he is going to be locked and loaded, getting about 15 carries a game as well as 5 targets out of the backfield. And it does not matter that we know David Montgomery has no explosion to his game. That is not necessarily a player you can expect to ever go out there and score you a 30-yard touchdown. Just no upside. I mean, look at Miles Sanders last week breaking off that 70-yard run against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. That's what we want in our running backs because even if they have a horrendous matchup, sometimes they can kind of get lucky and then they can go out there and turn it around. And on top of that, even if they are having a good game, that just drastically increases the ceiling, knowing that they can bust off a play that is going to give you 13 points. So with David Montgomery does not have that, but it does not matter because the opportunity is going to be there. And now on the other hand, we look at Kenyon Drake. And Kenyon Drake currently is getting a ton of usage with running the ball for the Arizona Cardinals, but he's looked absolutely horrendous. He's looked like one of the worst starting running backs in the entire NFL. And on top of that, we are seeing Chase Edmonds actually be used in the passing game, where Chase Edmonds is thriving, looking like definitely the better running back in the backfield. Well, I still think Kenyon Drake is going to have some usage, and he's going to be a complete smash this week against the Dallas Cowboys. It is going to be a running back that we are trying to avoid, understanding that just without that receiving game usage, his floor is just non-existent. So I would actually go out there and love to make this trade to get David Montgomery. Now, our last trade is going to be a Clyde Edwards-Helaire trade, where we are trading away Clyde Edwards-Helaire for Jonathan Taylor and Henry Ruggs. And I know, guys, in the live stream on Wednesday night, I went out there and said it was more likely that Le'Veon Bell was going to go somewhere else than Kansas City, than directly to Kansas City. And I owe y'all an apology if he signed with KC. And that's exactly what happened. Le'Veon Bell signed, and I think we cannot necessarily go out there and look at our prior evaluations and carry those biases over when we are trying to objectively look at this situation. And with Le'Veon Bell signing, I still think we are actually going to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire handle the majority of the work in Kansas City, but it's definitely not going to be the same type of usage that he was seeing before. Le'Veon Bell is going to get carries. Le'Veon Bell is going to get targets. So here I love the idea of going out there and selling Clyde Edwards-Helaire for maybe a little bit lower than you went out and purchased him at, but we have to understand we were wrong, so we are going to have to eat a little bit of value. And if you are getting Jonathan Taylor and Henry Ruggs for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, honestly, I think that is a fantastic move, and I'm surprised that you would be able to go out there and get that kind of trade value. But thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed the video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, please make sure you go down there, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, leave a comment. I am also going to be live streaming tonight at 8:30 p.m. Central. If I was not able to get to your trade question, I will see you there.